Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Lean Leadership Roundtable. I am Eric Ciampoli, founder of ECIC Consulting, and we put this event together to focus on middle managers that we work with every day in the manufacturing community. I'd like to welcome everyone here that joined us today from all the industries, and all the leaders and all the middle managers and everyone else in our network who took the time out of today to come join us. I'd like to thank my team for all the work that went into setting this up. It's a lot more work than you'd think to set up this webinar. Uh, I also want to emphasize that this roundtable event is from the perspective of middle management, through the lens of being in the middle every day with all the pressures and responsibilities, but the lack thereof, the approvals and the authority to do certain things. We invite you all to self-reflect as we go through this process here. We have no expectations or mandatory participation. We hope that you will engage and interact. We have a short poll coming up here for everyone to answer or choose not to. Either way is fine. Uh, Rules of engagement are there'll be no live voice communication, but we welcome you and openly encourage you to drop comments and questions in the chat. So the tone of this will be set from middle management perspective. So we mean no harm to any owners or anyone beneath there. We're looking at this entire situation from you're in the middle with the responsibilities and the needs of your team, the needs of ownership, and all the pressures and headwinds that come along with these things. Right? It's a tough role to fill. We understand that completely. Max and I have now been working in the manufacturing world for quite a while. I essentially grew up in it. And I've also been in the middle manager position a few times with feeling the pressures of all the things around you, that the team relying on you and ownership relying on you, and a lot of weight on your shoulders, right? So there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of headwinds, there's a lot of support. In some cases, there's resistance, there's fires to fight. It's built around the middle manager's perspective and how they're faced with these day-to-day challenges, and talking about tools and methods to help them overcome these issues. Okay. So with that in mind, please do feel free. We're actively hoping that you all engage in commentary, sharing your own little stories. We're gonna make note of these and they'll be part of the interaction in the Q&A as well. Essentially, why did we make this and why did we choose middle management, right? Some of you here are middle managers, some of you are owners, some of you are neither. Some of you fulfill both positions, right? In the smaller businesses, you wear more than one hat, absolutely. Right? We're emphasizing the stress that, you know, we're hoping that everyone under here will understand and relate with some of these things that we're going to talk about. So what we've discovered in the research before we started this is, well, we do a lot of training throughout the years in the tri-state area of New York, and we do the lean training. We work with middle managers, sometimes owners that join us for the training. We get everybody fired up, and everyone wants to change the world in their organization, and they want to conquer all the issues. And then they get faced with the reality of the customer. The customer orders seemed, they are all encompassing and all consuming. Order must go out. We don't have time for that yet. So we do what we do best. We deliver the customer's order by any means necessary on time if we can help it. There's lots of groups out there that support C-suite and owners, like Vistage, and there's a whole bunch of them out there, and there's support groups for ownership. But we're focused on what about the guys in the middle? So after the owner comes back from their Vistage group meeting and they're all fired up, they've got some new ideas and things that they want to do, and they want to change the organization for the better, to build an amazing organization, right, for the people that work for them and their families. Well, then they get back to that office and they get back to the plant. They have these great ideas, and then they're faced with the reality of what is their business today. It's the middle managers that are going to carry that torch through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, quarter after quarter. We're here to help them learn, help them grow, help them light their torch and carry their torch in a very collaborative manner. That's our goal here, is who's supporting the people that are in the middle that are responsible for so many things in the organization. A middle manager has a very long list of things that they need to do. And then there's the other job that's their regular job. And then there's the fires and oh, this didn't work and that didn't work, or the part doesn't fit, or we ran out of parts. Oh, someone didn't show up today. Well, these are the real issues. So the real world issues are we're constant firefighting, right? It's a never-ending battle of, you know, which fire do I fight first, right? And some are more severe than others, and some are more important, and some can wait till tomorrow. Then there's the repetition of these problems. Like some of these problems, it's not the first, third, fifth, or 10th time it's occurred, but we've learned how to conquer it by some solution that we use to remedy this symptom that we're experiencing. That is what we call a problem. And there's gaps in that leadership there, and there's even gaps in the managers and supervisors below them. So these middle managers are sometimes, and I try to stress this when I see it happening, it's like, so you're going to go out of your way to do the job for this person. So what are they going to learn from this if you just do it for them? Can you stop for a moment and show them and take the time so that next time you may not have to be as involved? It may not be one solution or one educational session. You may have to do it 5 or 6 times, but at one point, do you start taking things off of your plate versus continually adding things onto them? Because your plate's still the same size. And at one point, things start to fall off. And that's where your job gets even harder as a middle manager. The plate's the same size. Your capacity is only so much. You keep adding it to it because those beneath you are not able to do it. The expectations are that everything's going to get done on time. But the reality is you only have so much capacity that you can do in a given allotted amount of time. So what are we trying to cover here? We're trying to cover these gaps. Who do we need to train? Who's trainable? How do we motivate individuals beneath us in order to fill these gaps that are really not our responsibility to do, only to oversee, so that you're not finding yourself trying to execute everything yourself. Oh, well, you know what? It's faster. And I love this comment and I get it a lot. It goes, oh, Eric, I could show them how to do it. I want to show them how to do it. But the amount of time it's going to take me, I could just do it myself. And I'm like, but how many times have you already done it? So when are you going to do yourself the favor of stopping the cycle that you've created and enabling someone not to grow by doing it for them and say, hey, wait a minute, let me take 5 minutes and start with where's the problem? How do I address it? Who's responsible for it? Okay. Who should I show? And like I said, it isn't always a one-time show and tell and then they're perfect at it. I'm not saying it is, and I know very well from my experiences running a plant, it's not a one-time session. It's sometimes dozens. But it's never going to get better if you don't take the time to stop and show others how to do what you know how to do. Because at one point, maybe you were that person who got shown how to do that. And look at where you are today. You've grown up in the business, and I've seen people go from literally janitors to plant managers. It's manufacturing provides that great opportunity path for an individual. So don't take that away from them either. Do yourself a favor, help them so that they can help you and help themselves. Because as they grow in the organization, it gets easier for you and you give them an opportunity to grow into new roles. But if you don't teach your team anything, then it's just you doing everything. And sometimes you find yourself blaming them that they don't know how to do anything. But we need to ask ourselves that question. And a great leadership coach, who's no longer with us, my best friend's father-in-law, he said to me, Eric, if the student hasn't learned, the teacher hasn't taught. Remember that. I'm like, oh, that's a really valuable piece of information. I can't complain that they don't know how to do it if I didn't bother to teach them, right? So that's something to really pay attention to as a middle manager. If I'm doing everything myself, how am I harming them, not just myself and the organization? You need to build other leaders around you so that you're not all alone. You have a team. So I bet some of you have already been interrupted by this point. It's very probable, given the climate of manufacturing. Someone's knocked on your door or sent you a message already for you to intervene in something. We're here to talk about ways to set up structures that doesn't make that reduces the frequency of that. But we want to start solving problems in real time and addressing symptoms versus root cause. We want to go from leading people just to get work done to developing them and figuring out where's the friction that shows up in our organization and how do we remedy this? Because if you're a doer, you're doing things. But if you're a manager, how much are you doing and how much are you developing, right? How often does a football coach get on the field and play in the game? Usually never, right? Because there's people on the team to do that, and they're highly trained at what they do. So let's build our A team that's going to win the championship with us and for us, so that you can work on the big stuff that keeps the team motivated and the team engaged and gives them the tools, the capacity, and the time to do the thing that you do as an organization and focus on what you do best, making happy customers. So many managers and owners, they have a very low visibility picture of what's going on in the organization. We know the problems, but do we really know where we are today? Even the best ERP systems fail to catch a lot of this because it's built around a lot of knowledge base that's department based, right? It isn't widespread knowledge. It's you got to go to each individual pocket to figure out what's really happening. So a lot of these problems and things go unspoken, or they were spoken about many, many times and complained about to the point where the team just stopped complaining about it because, well, nothing's going to change. That's not a leadership failure. That's usually a capacity failure because nobody wants problems. But when did you actually put firefighting and problem solving into your calendar? Oh, Wednesday at 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I'm going to focus on solving the problems that I have that I deal with every day. There's usually a fire that gets in the way of it, and you're moving from higher priority to the next highest priority as things get completed and fires go from a raging furnace to a dull roar where you can hand it off. So if you're a leadership that is asking why things are not getting done, do we really understand the things that are going on underneath us? The infrastructure, the systems, the tools that are in place that support the organization. Sometimes there's gaps, sometimes there's lack of ownership and just I'm not going to do that. I have other things to do. Or there's a lack of infrastructure and tools for them to use so that when I get to it, I'll get to it. But it's not my priority because I don't have the time or tools to do this. I'll do it later. So that gap, it doesn't get smaller. It usually gets larger as the business gets bigger. And I see many times where a manager or owner is in the middle of, wanting to make change and they want to do change and they're trying to get buy-in for people to adopt the new way of doing things. How do you get to the point of changing things if you don't actually know what things look like today? What does it really look like out there? What's really going on? Where's the pain points? Who's experiencing what, when, and why? You can't change things until you understand where it actually lies. And we use value stream mapping a lot for this that we'll talk about a little bit more in the upcoming slides. So if I don't know where the problems are, if I just addressing symptoms, you're probably not going to solve your problem. You're just going to get really good at putting out fires as they come up over and over again. And normally your shop managers are experts at firefighting. It isn't necessarily that they are the best at everything, but they're really good at moving things along so that on-time delivery chart stays where it needs to stay. Right. But the problems that got you to the resistance, they don't always get addressed. There's a lot of things that are going on underneath the surface. So next segment, we're moving into our poll. We're inviting you all to answer some questions about you, your organization, and your role. So everyone should be able to see this poll. So there's some questions in here. They're directed towards manufacturing and the paradigms of manufacturing itself. So one, where does your team lose the most time? Are there unclear processes, too many handoffs, too many reworks, in some cases, maybe too many meetings where you don't have time to get things done because you're still talking about it? Do issues go unspoken until they get to the point where like we have no choice but to address this problem? Number two, or actually third thing, fixing things that just break again and again. That's an ongoing thing that I see in organizations that, oh, it happens again, it happens again. I'm like, but what's the root cause? Well, it just keeps happening, but who's working on fixing it? Well, we don't have time for that. Like, but you have time to fix it when it happens. So can we prevent it? We don't have the team for that. If I could just get someone to do that, then, that would be great. Well, but since when do you have an unlimited capacity to hire anyone and everyone you need? It doesn't work like that. So what do you wish your team would do more consistently? Follow clear instructions? Well, do you have instructions that are clear for them to follow? Do they speak up when something's off? Do you wish they would solve problems at the root, not just patch them? Third question, where does your leadership effort feel wasted? Are you putting the same fires out over and over again? Does this happen? Sure, it does. Are we chasing problems over and over again? Are we keeping people busy, but progress is unclear? It's it's funny because I'd ask them like, "Oh, are you guys busy?" "Oh, we're real busy." And I ask them, "Are you good busy or bad busy?" And a lot of times they don't know how to answer that. It's like, "Well, yeah, we're really busy, but are you busy doing things that are value added, or are you busy doing things just because you have to do them?" And a lot of times they can't answer that. Well, I guess we're good busy. I mean, if you guess, are you guessing because you want it to be? Is it good or bad? Because there's good busy and there's bad busy. Are you busy fighting fires? Or are you busy shipping product and making money? Fourth question, what is one thing you wish you had more of? Besides unlimited space, staff, and money, do you wish you had more clarity on where work is getting stuck? Do you wish you had more visibility in what's happening in the day to day? Do you wish you had more confidence that problems are actually solved? Number five, if you could shift one leadership habit in your organization, what would it be? Understanding the full picture before making changes, right? This is part of the middle management's role is to create that picture so that decisions can be made based on real facts and real information versus opinion. I see this issue a lot. Oh, it's definitely this. I'm like, but what makes you believe that? Because you feel the most pain from it, or it's the most frequent thing in your organization? Do you wish that you could show up more consistently where the work happens? You get leaders there to see what's going on so that they can understand your pain. Well, if he just would come down and see what we're really doing here, he would understand it better. Well, isn't that your responsibility to create that picture so that they understand what's really going on in a quantifiable way that can make smart decisions for the business? Or do you wish that it would just slow down enough to ask why before making any decisions or reacting? Some organizations are highly reactive because the pace is just intensely fast. We've got to do something, so do something. Okay. So we get some good participation here on the poll. If everyone's done, we're going to end the poll here. We'll see what the results look like. So, where does your team lose its most time? Unclear processes. Not surprised. Some of these processes are likely related to what? Instructions for new hires? Maybe. That's what I see the most. If you do manage to hire someone, you don't have the time to train them. You got to put them right on the line. Number two, it's almost it's a dead even tie between what do you wish your team did more consistently? It's a 50-50, 56% follow a clear, visible process or solve problems at the root, not just patch them. I wonder why there's such a split there. Are they two really tied together? It could be. These problems could be related to following procedures properly. And the procedure should be built so that we have less issues. Third one, it's pretty clear leader that putting out fires over and over again, very frustrating and exhausting, and 56% are spot on with that. Not surprising either. What's the one thing you wish you had more of? It's a clear winner here again for confidence that problems are actually solved, which goes right back to our split for, solving problems at the root, not just patching them. If you had to quantify today which problem in your organization has the biggest impact, I think it would really be relevant to when you ask that question, because that problem may be bigger yesterday than it is today because you got a new one, which leads you to the constant firefighting and how do I get out of this mess? How do I get to the point where I'm above water, making decisions, not reacting? Because you get stuck in that cycle very quickly. I understand the pain. I've been there. There's 50 problems to fight. They all need to get solved, but which one do I start with? Because I only have a 14-hour day to do it. Number five, if you could shift one leadership habit in your organization, what would it be? Understanding the full picture before making changes. Well, this one here has a lot to do with the information that they're given. Some owners are very involved and they know what's going on. Other ones rely on the team in order to create that picture of here's what's happening, here's what's going on, and here's what it means for the business, so that you give the leadership the right information they need to make decisions in real time, so that you get what you need in order to be successful in your role. But that translation process I often go through as part of my training. I did one with a company that makes fiber optic products, and they were just complaining, yeah, but Eric, we need all the machines. They're all old. We need new machines. I'm like, Nobody has all new machines. You guys aren't the only ones. Well, yeah, but we really need them. They're 40 years old. I'm like, I've seen some machines that are 80 years old. So what's your point? Well, they're not maintained. I'm like, oh, so do you need new machines or do you need to maintain the ones that you have? No, we need both. I'm like, so what is it you really want? What do you mean? I want new machines. Like, no, you want a robust preventative maintenance program, right? So how do we get that? You have to ask for it. So what kind of budget do you have for maintenance and repair? Oh, we don't have one. We just fix things when they break. I'm like, so you're reactive, not proactive. So the reason why you feel so much pain of the machines being down is because no one's really paying attention to the health of the machine. So your problem isn't that you need all new machines, because guess what? You buy 20 new machines, in 10 years, you're going to have the same problem, or maybe even 5 months, depending on how much you run them. You need to take care of the ones that you have, even if they're brand new. The better you take care of it, the longer it's going to serve you. Thank you all for participating in the poll. So now we get into some lean tools. In your organization, you're faced with so many challenges, right? But we're here to build a community based on lean manufacturing concepts and tools that are tried and proven. But a tool is just a tool if you don't know how to use it very well, right? I can give someone a Stradivarius violin, but I can't expect them to play like a Chopin or any of these famous violinists. You need a lot of training. You need understanding of how this tool works, right? Because there's a lot of finesse, right? As Massimo put it, we were talking earlier about it. I can give someone a tool, but like using it, there's an art form to it, right? You can't just give someone the best bow and arrow that's made and expect them to hit the bullseye every time. It requires practice. It requires understanding. It requires knowledge. It requires, well, how fast the wind blowing. There's all these different elements. So we'll start the process with talking about value stream mapping. So value stream mapping, amazing tool. It gives you the viewpoint from the perspective of the customer, not from the perspective of a person in the process, but this is what the customer is going to experience. I'm sure all of you have been to a theme park at one point in your lives. You spend a lot of time waiting in line, don't you? Right? I use the analogy a lot. I love Thunder Mountain and Disney World. If I go on a day where it's really rainy and gloomy, I'm not going to wait in line very long because there's nobody there. But the reality is the Thunder Mountain ride is going to be like 2 minutes and 47 seconds, regardless of how many people are in line. So what I need to understand is like, well, how long is it going to take me to get on the ride? Should I even wait in line or should I go to the shorter line? Well, your customers are making decisions like that. Well, how fast can I get it? What's the lead time? 8 weeks? I can't wait 8 weeks. I need it in 5. So I'll go somewhere else. Well, in our organization, how long does it really take for things to get done? Not how long does it take for the process to finish? Because when you have a new order coming in, the value stream is really measuring how long it takes for their order to make it through all the processes and all the queuing times in the organization. If you look at this slide here, okay, I've got 5 days of coils, they're in stock. It only takes me 1 second to stamp this part, but it takes me a while to set it up, right? But it's going to sit in inventory for 8 days. Well, after it sits in inventory for 8 days, it only takes a little while to do the next step. So if you add all this up, it takes a long time to finish the order, but it doesn't take that much time to actually make the part. So we get lots and lots and lots of waiting time that the customer's experiencing because their things are being waited to work on. The value stream map talks about exactly that. It isn't how fast the process runs. I like to focus on how do we reduce the wait time? Why is it waiting so long? Am I using my tools properly? A great example, and I have this thing, any of you know me, we have this example of the $1 bet. I bet you we can do something, $1 if I'm right. And this one customer, they mixed breading products and flours. He wanted me to figure out, well, how do we get more out? Where do I put another mixer? I need another mixer. I need to make more product and I need to do it now. I said, well, how much are you using your tool now? What's your OEE? You didn't know what that was. It's operational equipment effectiveness, right? Out of the time you're working, how often is the machine making product? Oh, it's running all day. It's always running. It's running all the time. We're running overtime, when we need to. I'm sorry, but you have a tool, but it's not really working all the time. Well, what do you mean? We're always working. You may be working, but is the machine running? So we need to understand, well, if the lights are on and people are working, is the machine making product that the customers want? Well, I'm sorry, but you don't need another mixer. We need to use the tools that you already have. Why buy more equipment? So we changed the way they loaded the machine. We did it while the machine was running into a larger hopper, and we dumped the hopper into the machine. And instead of taking 2.5 to 3 hours to load the mixer, we did it in under 10 minutes. Which, ta-da, without spending any money at all, we increased productivity 38% by using the tools that they already owned, that were already installed with the capacity and the awareness of the existing staff that they already had. If I add another machine, I need to add more people to run it. The expense of adding more machinery means more management, means more direct labor into it, unless you're lucky enough that the machine's automated, and then more maintenance and more square footage. And we all know square footage in New Jersey isn't getting cheaper by the day. It's getting more expensive. So we need to use the tools and all of our assets, including our real estate, as effectively as possible so that we don't need to keep adding more and more just to get ahead. So in the last one, our polls were talking a lot about problems. These problems drive this value stream app deficiency as well, right? So if you've got downtime on machines because there's issues going on all the time and it's not being resolved, you're never going to get ahead, will you? So next slide, Gemba walk. A Gemba walk is not just going out there and taking account of what's going on today and what's going to ship, because that's what a lot of organizations do. All right, Mike, Joe, Bob, what are we going to ship today? Is it done yet? Did you get that thing done that I asked you to do? And we're going there to essentially check off a list, right? We're looking to check something off. A Gemba walk does not involve checking things off. You're going out there to learn. You want to go out there and observe what's actually happening. Look at what the struggles are. See who's struggling where things are piling up, where my bottlenecks are today, because it isn't always consistent. Someone could be out that day and your bottleneck shifted to somewhere that you never imagined. We're going out there to listen, ask questions. What are you struggling with today? A Gemba walk is a form of service in the organization. You're not just out there to check off things. You're out there to learn and interact with your staff. What's happening today and how can I help? Well, can I coach them on something while I'm there? Can I improve their mindset? I get a lot of sessions where the beginning of it starts is, Eric, our organization's an entire mess. How are we going to get out of this? It's just overwhelming. I'm like, well, if you have that state of mind, you've already failed. It's like you need to look at it positively. As I have an opportunity to improve the business. No, I'm not going to improve 100 things in 48 hours, but I can improve one thing at a time. Over time, it gets a lot better, does it not? If you don't do anything, it'll only get worse. And if you're lucky, it'll just stay the same. But typically, it will get worse because you're not addressing things. So you go out there to look, listen, ask questions, observe what's going on, recognize the pain points of what's going on, talk with the individuals and say, well, I recognize that you're experiencing this shortage today, or, the person we hired isn't exactly what you wanted, and you're working with them and you're frustrated. I understand. But think about when you started. Did you know everything that you knew today? Probably not. And most of us started in the same way. You started with lack of knowledge and skills and you built it over time. So we shouldn't really criticize the new hires for not getting the proper documentation and procedures. Like everyone mentioned earlier in the polls, is like, oh, they're not properly trained. There's no clear procedure. Well, that's our responsibility, is it not, as ownership and management, to create that foundation so that we can build knowledge from. We can't solve something that we don't understand. So if we understand things, we can solve problems. It's a cycle. And we need to recognize that those things exist. And where's the gap? Well, we need more training. Well, what does that training involve? What do people really need to know in order to do the job? And what do people need to know in order to solve problems? It's not the same skill, right? It's a different type of training. And you need to be objective. You can't just always be negative. You're not going to create momentum when you're only talking about the negative. Find something to celebrate here and there. You can go on the Gemba walk and say, "Well, that's great. I observed that. I see that problem went away today. I really, I'm excited. I'm really glad to see that you guys resolved that issue." And then celebrate it. It doesn't have to be, a ticket parade in order to celebrate it. Just acknowledge and reward them. I respect your efforts to solve this problem. Motivate the team. It's not that hard to do a little recognition here and then. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yep. Caesar shared Gemba walk, two eyes, two ears, and only one mouth. See, listen, then talk. That's an amazing analogy. Thank you, Caesar. And that's exactly what it's built for. If you're the one doing the talking, you aren't going to learn much, will you? And take your time in the process. It's not a 3-minute visit. You can't learn a lot just running through the factory because that's what I see. I worked at an organization years ago. We did a Gemba walk. And over time, they got faster and faster and faster, but not for good reason. It was like, oh, we need to speed this up. But the faster we sped it up, the person we'd get to their Kanban board and they would talk about the issues and they're being rushed through it. And I'm like, but we're supposed to be doing this to learn how we can service them today. Why are we rushing through it? Oh, we need to get on to the next thing. I'm like, well, he's talking about a part shortage. We need him. We're not solving it on the Gemba walk right away. We're setting a plan for it, and some things we can solve. Oh, I can help you with that. But if we're rushing through the process, we're not giving the individuals enough respect and enough time to share their pain point with us. We need to understand it enough. So, all right, I need to come back with this. We're going to come back. I'll be right after we finish the walk through the plant, but I acknowledge this issue and it requires more attention. I'll get back to you. So we want to try to get these things as early as possible. Let's do them in the morning. Go out there, see what's going on, ask questions, engage, recognize accomplishments. You know, it isn't a hard thing to do to show some respect. It goes a long way with the rest of your team is to just look them in the eye and say thank you for your effort. It doesn't cost you anything to be kind. It's one of the few things in the world that are free, right? So some Gemba walks that I've been involved in, besides the one years ago when I worked there, is we have a tendency as an organization to be focused on deliverables, right? I need to get something done today, and I need to get it done now. Well, there's a lot of steps that are involved in that. And if we're only measuring the output and we're not addressing the steps in the middle, we're going to miss some of those elements that may be part of the symptom chain that we're experiencing. An organization that I worked with in central New Jersey years back, they were measuring their performance by the number of units they could assemble. They built high-end computer systems, and the challenge for them was that there was a sense of artisanship. They were artisans. They took great pride in what they did to the point where they took hours to do something that really didn't require that much time. We talked about the problem. We said, oh, yeah, we really need to speed this up, but we don't want to take away the joy and the pride that each individual puts into their system. I said, but we can speed this up because we need to. Sales are growing, and I can't just hire 100 people to assemble things. There isn't space for it, and nor is there money in the budget to just overhire, right? Nobody has a limitless budget for that. So what we talked about is how do we engage the team to critique their own steps? So we did that. We broke it down into simple steps of how to complete the assembly of the entire unit. And we took the artisanship and made it into process. They like to put a lot of zip ties on the harness. It doesn't need 26 zip ties. It's unnecessary. 5 were actually was enough. And through this process of experimenting with interacting with the team and how they do the work and breaking it down into clear steps, we built the procedure to show them, this is station 1. This is the work that you'll perform here. We need you to follow these 12 steps or 18 steps that include all these different motions. And we broke it down into very efficient use of man and machine. Then it moved to the next stage and you started installing things. And once you installed things, you did a certain step of it and then stopped. What used to happen is this over cautious elements, which would take a lot of time. We had to take that out because we needed to deliver 3 times as much in half the time. So we didn't want to take away the pride. This was the trickiest part is I want you to put pride in your work, but don't want you to take too long doing it. The message itself is very contradictory. Hey, work faster, be proud in what you do, but hurry up. These messages conflict. So we transitioned it by having them engage in the process. Well, do you need to do that? Well, I don't need to do it. I like to do it. Okay. How much of the like is a need? Well, what kind of question is that? Well, I need to put a zip tie on. Okay, so you put it in there. But how tight does it need to be? Oh, I don't really know. I just make it snug. Okay, well, how many do you need? Well, I could use one here, here, and here. I could put one here. I could put one there. I'm like, okay, so if you only had 5 zip ties, where would you put them? Well, I'd put it in these 5 places. I'm like, so let's put it there. Is that enough? Yeah, I think that's okay. I can agree with that. And step by step, we work through the process to break it down, not taking away the pride of ownership, because that's something that you never want to take away. You want the individuals to have pride in it. So you engage them in the process of looking, seeing how things are going, and you let them answer the questions from their perspective and understanding why they do things before you decide to change anything, which was one of the complaints in the survey. I wish leadership would understand more before they make a change or do something. Well, to the people that work with you on the assembly lines, you are their upper management. Are we doing the same thing that we're expecting from our leadership? Asking more questions and learning more before we incite our knowledge into the process, or maybe in their perspective, it could even be just an opinion, right? So we ended up, long story short, we brought productivity down up, I should say. They used to make one assembly every 2.2 hours. We got a complete start to finish, excluding the test, under 22 minutes per assembly. It was a profound change in how the business operates, and on-time delivery skyrocketed, and they were able to fulfill an increasing demand for their product without hiring more and more people. Because the training process was also complex. So you can't hire too many at a time. You need to work with your coach to learn the procedures, which we created to make it easier. And later on, when I visited them, they're still using the process, and they've actually further improved the process down to 18 minutes per assembly. I was quite impressed with how they used the tools and really took it to the next level. I love to see that kind of stuff. The 5 whys. No, it's not a redundant 2-year-old. Why? We're asking questions so that we can learn more about what's really happening. I know every time I do this, everyone makes fun of it. They joke and say, oh, yeah, I can just ask the same question 5 times and I have an answer. I'm like, well, that's not the functional reason for this. If you don't really understand the difference between when you're talking about a problem or a symptom, then you might not even be asking the right question. In this specific example, it's one I use all the time. It's very simple and straightforward. So don't get too tied up in the actual example. Okay, the machine stopped. Well, why did it stop? Well, the circuit tripped. It went out, the circuit broke. Okay, yeah, it tripped. Great. What does that mean? Oh, I don't know. It tripped. I turned it back on and it tripped again. Well, why is it tripping? Oh, well, I found, oh yeah, the shaft on the pump it's worn down. The pump seized up, so it tripped the breaker. Okay, so I don't know. How old is this machine? 2 weeks old, 2 years old, 20 years old? Well, why is the shaft seizing? Like, why is this thing happening? Well, I don't know. Well, I know you don't know because we need to ask more questions, but why would it happen? Well, the shaft got worn down and seized up because we found a bunch of metal chips inside the systems that's not supposed to be there. Well, how would chips get inside there? Why are they there? Well, I don't know. Well, I know that. Is this always the case? Well, you don't know. We're going to ask more questions. Well, why are the chips there? Well, it's a saw. It drills. It makes chips. Well, where are they supposed to go? Well, in the basket. Well, why are they in here? Well, they got into the tub and then the lubrication system picked them up and it pumped it back into the loop again. And then it caused the pump to fail. Well, why are they getting in there? Well, there's no strainer in the basket. Well, isn't the strainer supposed to be there? Yeah, but the other day, like we cleaned it out and we forgot to put it back. Okay, so I've experienced a series of symptoms here, right? Yeah, it's a problem that chips are in there, but the chips are a symptom of something. They're a symptom of the strainer not being in the basket. When you get a cold, right? You have a runny nose. Is your runny nose the problem, or is it the symptom of having a cold? It's the symptom of having a cold. Yes, having a runny nose is also a problem. You need lots of tissues. But the root cause is that, well, you have a cold and you're going to have a runny nose for a few days. So you need to take care of that. So if we don't have a strainer in there, we need to take care of that. And we need to figure out, well, another step. Let's ask another question. Why wasn't the strainer in there? Because we've had this drill, this saw for 30 years. We never had this problem before. Well, yeah, Tommy cleaned him out. He's new. He didn't put the strainer back. And okay, so we need to do a checklist before you start it up. Is the strainer there? We need to go to the next step and ask and prevent these errors from happening so that I don't do the same mistake over and over again, just like you guys talked about in the survey. Is, well, I wish these problems would go away. Well, you can't wish a problem away, but you can put in measures to prevent them from happening at all. And if you're lucky, because some things will happen, and there's ways that you can prevent them from happening as frequently so that you can spend more time working on the things that you want to work on, right? I find that this is a great tool to get people engaged in actually working in their area and have them help learn things about their own processes, not just being a brainwash. Oh, I do this, I do that, I do this. Like, ask questions, get them involved. How can I help you make your job easier? Some of you that have done training with me, I start the process with describing lean in general. Lean is about getting more work done with less work. Most people make some type of face like, that doesn't make any sense. How do I get more work done with doing less work? Well, the story is like, well, how much work are you doing that you really shouldn't have to be doing? It's just consequence of the system. If I could make all the problems go away, how hard would it be to get the work done? It would be easier, wouldn't it? So how do we apply these lean tools to your process so that we can get the things out of the way so we can get from A to B really easy? If the path is smooth because you built it that way, you can get from point A to point B much easier than if there's a minefield in the middle of it. Oh, I need to circumvent this. Yeah, Bob doesn't like to do that, so I can't ask him. I gotta ask Tone, I gotta ask Roger to do it, and Roger's out today, so I gotta figure out another solution. Like, well, wait a minute. Why are we reactive? Why don't we have training of other people in place? Well, this doesn't come up a lot, but when it does, we usually just solve it when it happens. I'm like, well, how many of these things are you addressing? How many conditional or circumstantial things are in your organization where when it happens, you have a decision matrix you need to make? Why did the process end up this way? Do we know how it got this way? A lot of times it's by choice. I chose this path. No, 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 it's just what we do here, but it was chosen by someone, may not have been you. This is the process we chose to follow. If you can choose that process, can't we also choose to change the process to something that is easier to do? I would imagine that the answer is yes. And I know there's some medical device groups that I've worked with, and they're like, yeah, let's change the process. They're like, oh, yeah, if you want to go through a 1 year PPAP to redo this and reanalyze it. Well, I'm sorry, but not all circumstances are easy solutions. I wish it were, but I asked the question again. Well, is the savings in this and this process change worth the PPAP effort? In some cases, they absolutely were because they were worth millions of dollars. Well, then let's do it. Let's set a plan to do it. Let's put it on the project charter and create a plan to change this process. Because if you don't change the process, then you're going to end up just resorting to the quickest band-aid, like we all probably do now. I've done it myself. I don't have time to work on this right now, but I need a solution. So let me just whip out my band-aid and we'll wait for the next occurrence to come again. And we may or may not have time to address it then. So all of these lean tools together are just a few of the different tools that Roundtable is focused on helping the community understand and I would say the art form of using the tools. Because I can show you a 5 why, tell you what it does, but how do you apply it to your application? I could show you what a Gemba walk is and a value stream map, but making one is not so simple if you don't understand the science of it or the art form of it. I need to ask questions in a certain way to get a real answer, not just what they think I want to hear. Oh, yeah, this process, yeah, it just takes 10 minutes. Does it take 10 minutes? Or does it take 10 minutes over the course of 4 hours because you're doing five other things? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It takes me like 5 minutes to do it once I get the focus. So you ask the question after that, why aren't you able to focus on the task? Because I have so many other things I need to do. How am I supposed to just sit here and do one thing all the day? I'm like, well, okay, I understand the sensitivity to the question. However, if you were undistracted and you were able to do this task undistracted, how long would it take you? Oh, I could get it done in 2 minutes. I'm like, so how much of the noise or the distractions that are happening can we control? I don't understand that question, Eric. How am I supposed to just do that? What am I gonna go sit in a cave and ignore everybody? Like, well, no, because that's not an option. Although there's times we probably wish that we could do that. I know I've thought about it once or twice. Is how much of the noise is controllable? Is there things that we can reduce? Because I'm not talking about making things 100% better in 48 hours. I'm talking about ways that we can improve our process just a little bit, 0.5%, 1% every day, every week, every month, over time. Just a little bit at a time better over the course of a year is a substantial difference. Lean tools are not just tools. They're a way that you run your business. I one of my favorite examples is I worked with a transitionary company. They were changing leadership from, the father to the kids. They were taking over the business. And the father gave a mandate to the kids. He said, you're not taking over this business. I won't trust you with the business until you start to learn to think in a lean manner and run the organization from the perspectives of lean manufacturing. And then, well, what does that have to do? I know how to do this job. They were a panel processor, cutting wood. So it wasn't super complicated stuff. It wasn't, lasering gyroscopes or anything. But there's steps and there's people, there's engagement. So he said, you better do this or I'm not going to sell you the business. So of course they complied and I worked with them over 2 years. And about a year in, it was like, well, I asked myself, they would say to me, so yeah, the other day this thing happened. I asked myself, what would Eric Lean do? How would I approach this problem if I wasn't so attached to it? I'm like, oh, that's really good. I'm flattered. And they started to approach things from a systematic point of view, using all the tools that we would continually implement. We celebrated lots of successes there, and still they're the number one performing per square foot organization in the entire national branch, and they stand as the poster child for efficiency. And till this day, they've doubled the sales in their business, and they haven't added a single square foot to the organization. Imagine that, doubling your output in the same footprint. It's it sometimes seems completely impossible, and they've managed to do it. The other day we chatted, he was talking about, maybe it's time to add more space. And I reminded him of his father-in-law's number one mandate was no more space, no matter what. I don't care. No more space. And I said, remember that. Can you do it? He's like, yeah, yeah, I think we can make it work. So these different tools, they can be applied in so many different ways, and there's an art form to it, and it's not so simple. It takes some experience sometimes in doing things right and sometimes wrong in order to understand what works and what doesn't work. Just like when you practice for, playing an instrument, the more you use it, the better you get at it. So questions and answers. So what stands out in the group so far? Things that you're faced with every day. There's a number of things I'm sure that you guys are feeling pain points just this morning when you got in this morning and something went wrong or something went right, right? Let's celebrate that a little bit because that doesn't happen every day, right? So what's happening today? Can you guys drop something in the chat? Where do things break down when you're not physically present? That's a very interesting question. So where do things break down when you're not physically present? I would say that if they're breaking down when you're not present, they're likely breaking down also when you are present. If there was a process in place ongoing, it wouldn't matter whether you're present or not at the time that the event happens. Are there procedures and clear understanding of the sequence and steps that need to be taken? And is this a breakdown of communication? Is this a breakdown of process? Is there a shortage of parts and the breakdown in the supply chain from the warehouse to the assembly area? What type of breakdown are we talking about? Is it entire, is it the entire organization? Is it one specific area? Old equipment. Oh, this is a good one. Old equipment. I imagine you want new equipment. Everybody does. I know I want some new equipment. So these old equipment, well, you ask yourself, let's try a 5 why here. Why is the equipment old? Silly question, right? Well, it's old because it's expensive and it's expensive to replace, right? I'm assuming it's not cheap. If it was, you probably would have got new stuff. But it's broken down. Now, the meaning of this question just changed for me. So things break down when you're not physically present. Does that mean that are the individual that possesses the special knowledge to keep the machine running? Is that special knowledge something that you can teach others? And I'm sure if it is, it's going to take some time. Is there an individual to teach the things that you know that you've learned, likely over time, of knowing which area to work on, where the machine fails, and what I like to call the personality of the machinery, because every machine has its personality. Even machines that are all the same, they still have a personality. So it seems like in this specific example, the equipment's old and it breaks down when you're not there. It's breaking down either because there isn't preventative maintenance in place where you're spending time making sure that all the necessary things are being done. Oh, turnover. Okay. So turnover. You train someone and then they leave. Okay, I'd ask another question. Why is there so much turnover? Is the turnover because the work environment is challenging to work in, like an environment where it's cold and wet, and a lot of people do not enjoy that environment? I can't blame them. The turnover is related to what? Culture in the business? Are people being pushed out? Is there lack of training so they give up? Or no time to train? So here it's your first day. You're going to work online too. Go get busy. Someone will show you what to do. Right, there's a lot of dynamics to this conversation. It isn't just old equipment. It isn't just turnover. Everything connects together as an ecosystem, right? The organizational culture is exactly what people do when no one's looking. When no one's looking, what do people do when no one's around watching them? That's the true definition of what your culture and your business is. When you're not there to watch them, what are they doing? Are they doing whatever they want, or are they following what you ask them to do? Or a hybrid in between, some but not all. So if there's turnover and no one to train, and things are breaking down when you're not present, what kind of breakdowns are we talking about? Catastrophic or interruptions? What's running through this type of machinery? Is this a packaging machine that has, fill weight issues, container shape problems, or uh, a carton erector where the creases and forms don't necessarily fit right every time? What types of things are running through this line? Oh, edge bander. Nice. Okay. So old equipment, turnover, no one to train, and it's an edge bender. These are a good one. Is it AirTech I'm showing, or is it glue, which is even worse? Those are challenging. So there's no one to train. The edge bander is not working when no one's there. Is the equipment running properly when you were there? Does it require some special operator skill in order to run it, where even hiring and training someone with it requires a lot of time, which means it's even more difficult to train to. Because in the end, you're probably not going to get a new edge bender. So we have to figure out how to make this one work. And when it works, how well will it work? And the higher level question here would be is what's the expected yield or the expected productivity for this area per day? How many linear feet are we looking to obtain? Is that expectation even feasible given the staff that's at it? Because we sometimes have to change our expectations to suit the capacity of the people using it. So we go back to the five whys. So the five whys. Why is the edge bander breaking all the time when I'm not physically present? Well, the answer could be not enough training. Okay, so why is there not enough training? Well, we don't have enough time to train people. Well, why don't we have enough time to train people? Because we're late on orders. We need to put them on the line. Well, why are we late on orders? Because we don't have enough trained people. Okay, that's a cyclical one. So how do I see how the organization works as an entity at this point? Because the edge bander is only one step in the process. If there's only one step in the process that's a problem, it may or may not even be the bottleneck. If I feed more products to a machine that doesn't run, that's great. But and I can see the issue, but is that my real problem? If the edge bander is running 100% and working fine, what's my problem when it's running? Where does the bottleneck move to? A value stream map would be a tool that we would use to figure out where are things queuing up in the process. Where do I need to look in order to figure out why is it waiting so long? If you remember from the illustration, it waits over 7.6 days before it even gets into the next step. Why does it wait 7.6 days? We're not necessarily late because the edge bander's down. We're late because our production process doesn't have the capacity, the way it's set up, in order to fulfill the needs because I need to look at changeover times. I need to look at the real capacity of each individual step. Okay, it's breaking all the time, but when it is running, what's my OEE? How often am I changing it over? How often am I using it? Just like the example with my breading and mixing company. They wanted to add more machines to increase capacity. But what I realized shortly in is that there is there's plenty of capacity in the machine you already have. You just haven't found it yet because of the way you're using your tool. How are we using this tool? Is this edge bander set up even properly? Is there the right person running it? Okay. If not, how do we allot enough time to train them? Because if we don't, the problem will never go away. So not an easy solution to implement. It requires resources and time. Two of the things that are in high scarcity in manufacturing. Another question is people are resistant to change and going back to old habits or transition into their own version. Okay, very common. How was the process rolled out in the first place? Was it like the computer assembly group that I had where I had them build their process and we worked together? Or is it a marching orders? This is how we're going to do things now. Those don't always work as well, right? Engaging the team into the process of change. If they are the creators of change, they're more likely, not 100% foolproof, but they're more likely to own it because it was part of their creation and they had control over it. So that's part of building the culture in the organization of continuous improvement and engaging the groups into owning and creating their future state. So people don't like change. Most of us don't like change. I like it the way it is. I want it to be better, but I don't feel like changing it. I had this conversation the other day for an ERP system. The one that we have, it works. I can get it to work. It gives me exactly what I need, but I need something that's better for the future. But the one I have works, so why should I change it? Like, it's very interesting. You're trying to talk yourself out of change, but yet need something, you know something needs to move in order for the organization to grow. It may not just be their ERP system, it could be the entire organization itself. Their throughput is pretty impressive for the size of the organization. Is it an informational flow problem? His number one gripe had more to do with inventory awareness than it did with productivity. Eric, I don't know how much I'm using every day. I know how much I bought, but I don't know where it went. I'm like, so what would this information do for you as an organization? Well, I'd be able to reduce my inventory cost and keep more cash on hand because I wouldn't buy so much if I knew I didn't need it. I'm like, okay, so the organizational benefit is if I buy less, I save money and I still have what I need. And I ask them like the 80/20 question. What if there's a sudden surge in demand? Will you have enough material? It's like, oh, we don't normally see that big of a surge. It's a rollout and it happens and I can get material. So if you reduce your inventory, you still can successfully reach on-time delivery. So you say, yes, absolutely. But I don't know how much inventory I need to have because I don't know really where I use it. So his ERP system wasn't about just the future of the business. He needs the information to know how much he needs in order to survive, how much he needs to fill all the customer orders because he doesn't have the ability to track it. Okay. And that's a very important thing. Information's huge. If I have the right information at the right time, I can make smart decisions. Middle management is responsible for creating that information. How do you expect leadership to make smart decisions like on the poll if you're not collecting this information in real time that they need from you in order to give you what you want? That's an interesting paradigm, isn't it? I need to do something for myself so I can get something I want and something I need. So ask yourself, is there something that you can do today to build your case for something that you need or even something that you want to do? Because they're two different things. Something I want and something I need don't always have the same value, but the question's still the same. Is there something that I can do today to create the case for me to justify something I want or need in the organization? What do you need? What do you want? You want to hit on time delivery, but what can I do for information wise for more strategic awareness, planning? Hey, this machine is just unfixable. Well, is it unfixable or you just don't want to do it? Well, it needs a full rebuild. Okay, it needs a full rebuild. How much does that cost? Well, we don't have the budget for that. So make it work for now. Okay, what can I fix with the budget I can get? I know it's not what everyone wants to hear, but this is the reality. The profit margins of manufacturing are not enormous. It's not a SaaS company where it's huge profits selling the same license or access to a software. It's real cost. There's labor, there's insurance, there's square footage and real estate cost. There's machine downtime, raw materials, expediting raw materials, overtime, you name it. Health insurance cost. We're all struggling with the same things, especially in the tri-state area. Prices are not going down. So sometimes the budgets go down because the money's being spent elsewhere where there is no choice. So remember that the next time you're trying to build a case for something. How can I collect data to build a case for me to do better that helps the profit margin of the business? It's easy to spend money. Anybody can spend money, but what will this spend justify and what will it provide for the organization and in how long of a time? So these tools are not just about using them to improve your organization's efficiency. It's about using them from a holistic point of view as a new way to run your organization from a mental standpoint, just like I did with my panel processing shop. It's like, oh yeah, these guys they keep making mistakes, and I'm like, okay, so how do you prevent them from making mistakes? Well, they should just follow instructions. Yeah, but didn't you give them the instructions? Yeah, but he did it wrong. Well, why did he do it wrong? Well, I don't know. He wasn't paying attention, or was he paying attention? And the information wasn't clear enough, which allowed him to make a mistake. That's the issue we used to have on the vertical CNC. People kept putting the piece in backwards and drilling the wrong side, and then it went out to the job site and you couldn't install the closet. So he did follow instructions. He drilled it properly, but it was backwards. Easy to make a mistake on that. So what was the root cause? Was the information not clear enough? So what we did is we started putting an orange sticker on every partition. I know it was redundant. We put an orange sticker you get there on the rolls, real cheap, the ones you see in the grocery store. Anytime we ran it on the edge bander, we ran it left side partition, always got an orange sticker. So it was obvious as sunshine, which side was the left, so that he could make better decisions. Quality defects on the CNC went down by 95% in just 2 days. Very, very simple solution. And as they started getting more aware with it, we were able to eliminate the orange stickers and the quality remained consistent. And that quality benefit was enormous. We didn't have to recut the part. And the best part is you didn't have to send a new piece of wood out to the installation site in order to finish the customer's install. So you didn't have to emergency correct something, which was very expensive. If you have people reworking stuff, they're not making products that people are willing to pay for. So we can help the teams make that case and help understand the 5 whys, how things connect, where to push, what to push, and how to push it. Because every organization is unique. We've seen thousands of things. Like I've been doing this for a long time, and every organization struggles from similar structural issues and how things happen or don't happen. But the process of these things are a little unique to each individual. The problem's the same, but the approach is different. And especially, the complexities of the process also play an enormous factor in. So the Roundtable program is designed specifically for these things, for individuals in the middle to help get them to the solutions quicker to improve their organization as a whole. So the overview of our program, very simple. Roundtable is a lean leadership programming. It's just like I work with my group on changing the way they think. We want to help organizations get to that lean mind state of mind is what's the problem? How should I approach it? What's my benefits? What's my payback? How do I implement change so that it'll last? And all the little idiosyncrasies in between. So Roundtable came about for this specific need. We saw time and time again, we do organizational training. We train them. We get all fired up. And then the question is, yeah, but what happens next, Eric? What happens after this? Like, are you coming back? I'm like, eventually, if I'm invited. And then many times, unfortunately, middle managers kind of get left to their own devices. Okay, you've been trained. You should know what you're doing. Well, I wish that were the case. You may know all the tools, but the science and art form of implementing them, it's not something that's really easy to train to. That takes some time. That takes time. That takes application examples, just like I did with my panel shop. Something would come up and I'd be like, Bob, do you got a second? Can we step aside? Okay, so this thing's going on. How should we approach it? So what do you mean? I got to solve the problem. Like, yeah, but how do we solve it permanently? Do we band-aid it and call it a victory? Is that okay for today, or do we fix it? So, well, we should probably fix it. So how do we fix that? So, well, that means I'd have to do this. I'm like, all right, let's get started on doing that. And then actually hold the person accountable, my guy, Bob. And how do we actually keep this from becoming an ongoing issue or cut it off at the knees so we don't have to address it next week? So it's built for middle managers, backed by the senior leadership, because they're going to endorse this and we're going to help mend these two processes together. Is how do we keep your organization working efficiently, effectively, and in a timely fashion, satisfying customers and reducing problems. So we're here to teach you how to use lean tools, where to use them, how to use them, in what fashion, adding the leadership element to all of these things. So it isn't just the tool, it's how to lead others to adopt it and to maintain it. Because what's the point of building something if no one's going to maintain it? And that's the entire perspective of this initiative is the maintenance of all the initiatives you may have already done or the ones that you want to create for the future of your business. There's a joke in 5S is that every company's really good at 3S. They clean everything up and they celebrate, but the standardization and the sustainment are usually the first two things to die. And then once that dies, you no longer practice 5S. You have a 3S program where every once in a while you go and clean things up for a visitor that's coming, and then you celebrate that, and then it goes right back to where it was. That's not what we're here to build. We're here to keep it continuously running and continuously improving and getting better week after week, year after year. So we have a program that includes executive alignment and onboarding, monthly roundtable events, somewhat similar to this, covering topics of the day and we'll get into all different types of different subject matters on things that are real in the organizations around us. And it's not just your company that's struggling, everyone's feeling similar things. So this cohort will be built to address these things. So there'll be that monthly roundtable and then bi-weekly one-on-one strategy sessions that are tailored for each individual. And there'll also be something that's very unique is a real-time problem-solving group. You have an issue on your production floor and you need some help, the group's available. Max and I will be available for chats and interactions to help problem solve these different things as they happen, which is the real world classroom of, hey, this thing's a problem. How should we approach it? And we'll go through all the 5 whys and we'll go through the questions and answers and approaches to either, okay, we need to solve it for now. However, we also need to solve it for long term and addressing those things real time. And the group will also be part of these things. So it wouldn't just be a community of two, it'll be your entire cohort that will partake in some of these problems and interaction sessions. So the example that I wanted to share, let's cover the outcomes of this will be you'll see real visual change in your organization. We want to make it stick. We're not here to just talk about stuff. We want to help you get over that finish line and keep it there and don't allow the rest of the organization to drag it back where you saved it from. We want to make that stick. We have two different types of platforms that we're looking to promote here. One is a 6-month program focused on a specific transformation in a specific area. We want to take an area of the business and completely reimagine it to the future state as a lean organization. And another program is 12 months, a deep cultural shift for the entire leadership and the organization as a whole. We emphasize here real world execution and support because this is not a full day training, tying up someone for an entire 8 hours like the original lean training that we might have done together. It's real time. Something came up, we address it, and we learn from it. And we implement permanent, long lasting solutions. It's a real world, real time support suited to your specific needs. So our first cohort starts May 22nd of this year. We invite you, if you're interested in all the things that we've been talking about and the concept for your organization to get to the next steps as a lean organization, we call you to drop a message in the chat to anyone on the team, or if you probably already have my email address, reach out to us and let us know that if you're interested. We have some great programs that we put together for promotions to onboard people to this new initiative. We're very excited about it. So we invite you to reach out and let us know you're interested and you want more information. We're going to share some things after the session as well as far as structure. So we'll email that shortly after the seminar is over. You'll have that in your inbox. So some examples of real world concept applications. So I had this food manufacturer that I mentioned to you earlier, the blending capacity, the $1 bet that I won. The original conversation I had with the owner of this business, he said, Eric, I don't understand. I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've been working in this family business since I was like 13 years old. How are you going to tell me something that I don't already know? I said, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. We're going to talk about things that you haven't thought about. He's like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm like, well, that's the point is that if you see it every day and you're next to it all the time, you begin to become a little complacent or a little bit of habitual habits and mindsets and thinking because you deal with it every day. It's just part of the business I run. Well, does it have to be this way? Sometimes it takes a third party perspective in order to reset your mind and to think, well, yeah, I know it's all negative today, but if it were to change, what would that be in value to your organization if we could solve this issue and make it better? Not in one day, not in 1 hour, but over time. Can we make this process less painful? Can we make it something when the order comes in, you don't go, oh my God, this is back again? Will you cringe and wish you took the Monday off, right? We want to make sure that you're getting the support that you need. And part of that is changing the way you think, just like my panel shop. Oh yeah, this is what happens, this is what we do. But does it have to be this way? It doesn't have to be this way. You made the choice to do it this way. We can also make the choice to change. So how do we do that as a group? I had an organization way back. I worked for them for a number of years. They were in the cosmetics world. We had a very large launch for a major cosmetic brand in a short amount of time. 92 shades in like 8 months. Sales said, you know what? We'll figure out a way to do it. It was completely impossible based on the current process. They said yes anyways. Because once the order's placed, what are they going to do? Pull the rest of it? Probably not. So what we did was is we implemented some lean concepts that I was so eager to put into place. We redesigned a filling head, which I called the shower head, worked really well. That wasn't even the fun part. It was we changed the way we ran the line. Changeovers were 6 hours long to clean all these hydrocarbons out of the tank and out of the hoses. It was a dirty job. They used to break the line down, send people elsewhere, send all the materials to the kitchen, we called it, and they would clean the tubes, clean the nozzles, clean the conveyors. Everything would get washed out. It would take 6 to 7 hours, sometimes longer, just to change the shade. Imagine a half a day or more of changeover time at 86 shades. Not going to happen. So what I did was is I applied SMED, single minute exchange of dye. We took a machine that the ownership just bought that we really didn't need, and I took all the change parts on it, and I set up an entire assembly outside of the line while it's running. We made a separate tank. We set up this whole different filling assembly. We pulled the old thing off the line, everything detached. We changed the labels, put the new thing on, set the fill weight. Changeovers were 26 minutes, tops, sometimes faster. What did we change? We didn't change the process of the machine running. We just took operational equipment effectiveness into place. It's like, well, if the line's not running, it's no use. How can I keep the nozzles pumping? Well, we can do that by eliminating the changeover of cleaning. So I need an extra set of tools. I don't need another machine. I just need nozzles and I need a tank. So we did that. We ordered some hose. We got the extra nozzles and that we got from the new machine that was still in the warehouse. We took those parts and we put them to good use. And ta-da, 26-minute changeovers. We were ahead of delivery schedule with no overtime. So we went from being impossible to possible. And it wasn't that hard. And we did it together, the mechanics and I. We set it up and we trained everyone on how to do it so that when it was changeover time, it was just like a NASCAR race where they change the tires on the car. All hands on deck, come over, move everything around, hook it up, get it running. Team can break and go back to their respective areas. So I'd like to thank everyone today for joining us. We really appreciate you coming. It's been a pleasure having you all here. So I really want to thank you for making this what it is and for joining us for this time. Again, I invite you if any of the points today hit home for you and you want to have more of a conversation to learn more of how we can help your organization solve the problems that you experience, we strongly invite you to reach out to us and we'd be happy to help and engage you and your team, as well as the leadership team on how we can make your organization, you know, what it can be, not just what you struggle with today. So we thank you all for coming today, and we encourage you to reach out if you need anything, or if you have any questions, or even if you just want to chat and ask some more questions, we'd be happy to share. So, in that closing, thank you again. Thank you all for attending. Max, do you want to add anything? Okay. Thank you all. That'll conclude this session. Hope to hear from you in the near future.